Hello, this is CC Cycle 2 and Week 15. And we are starting with math, metric measurements. So we have 10 millimeters equals 1 centimeter, 100 centimeters equals 1 meter, 1,000 meters equals 1 kilometer. These are metric measurements. So 10 millimeters equals 1 centimeter, 100 centimeters equals 1 meter, and then 1,000 meters equals 1 kilometer. Metric measurements. And that's to the tune of 10 little Indians. For English, we are doing 4 purposes of sentences. And so they are declarative, which usually makes a statement, ends in a period usually. Exclamatory, which shows emotion and usually ends in an exclamation mark. And then we have interrogative, which usually asks a question and ends in a question mark and a question mark. And then we have imperative, which makes a command and usually ends in an exclamation mark or a period. And so we went through all of those, showing all of those expressions with a little magnifying wand in class. And on the board we had next to each of those declarative or exclamatory or interrogative or imperative. We had those symbols that end each of those sentences. And so the kids would take turns covering over that portion of sentence. And that's how we reviewed it in class. And for history, tell me about World War I countries. For this, we did a little skit for the parents, and each of those students basically held up a part of the song to represent that part of the song as we sang it. So we did World War I. During World War I, Great Britain, France, and Russia. Those three, Great Britain, France, and Russia, the students who were holding those cards, would say together, "We're allies," during that part of the song, and fought against Austria-Hungary, Germany, which were called, and then those two would say the Central Powers together. And then we had someone hold up 1917. In 1917, someone held up the United States entered the war, assisting the Allies. So that person would then walk over to Great Britain, France, and Russia to assist the Allies. We ran through that several times as a way to visualize World War I and what was going on, who was involved, and how that worked. So that was fun for history. For Latin, we have first conjugation endings, imperfect tense. So we took some party poppers that exploded confetti, and those were like bombs, which when a bomb goes off, it makes everything imperfect. And that was our way of going into the tune, which is bomb, ba, spot, bomb, spot, spont. And so whenever we exploded the poppers, which are our friendly version of bombs, we would all say as a class, bomb, ba, spot, bomb, spot, spont. We would go through, and once we would basically do head, shoulders, knees, and toes. So bomb, ba, spot, bomb, spot, spont. When we got to the floor, we would all be saying bont, like look at this big imperfect mess that the bombs created. And that is how we tied in the tune to our Latin imperfect tense conjugations. So for timeline, we have Japan, so we make the shape of Japan, Japan's isolation. Then we have Jamestown and Plymouth Colony founded. So for Jamestown, that's where they first sought gold. So we're gonna do the sign for gold again, which is just yellow coming from the ear like a gold earring, Jamestown. And Plymouth Colony founded. The Pilgrims are the ones who founded Plymouth Colony. So we're gonna make our sign for P, make that shape of their white bib area on what their clothes they wore. So we have that P for the Pilgrims, so Plymouth Colony, and they founded it. There's nothing here, and now it's founded. Then for Age of Enlightenment, that was a time of lots of human reasoning and thinking, so we're going to do this for Age of Enlightenment. Then for Hudson's Bay Company, we're going to make an H. This is our H, Hudson's. Then we're going to do a B and make the shape of a bay. So Hudson's Bay Company. Then we have the First Great Awakening. And then we have the classical period of the arts. This was a time of simplicity and order. So we're going to do the sign for order the whole time we say that part of the song. And then we have the 7 years. So that's going all the way around like a year, 7 years, war. Same sign for war as we've been using all along. And that is timeline. For geography, we did the Levant. So we are doing this to the tune of Judah, Judah. So we have Turkey, Cyprus, Syria, Iraq, Iran. Turkey, Cyprus, Syria, Iraq, and Iran. Went through that a few times, and that is how we did geography. We always start with I show and tell, they touch it and tell as well. So kind of a repeat after me method. And then we all sing the song together once we know where each of the places are. And then for science, we had a little fun with, I had here what we used. We used a rocket launcher that was, we showed when we pulled the rubber band back, it was potential energy, and when we release it, it flies, and that is kinetic energy. So kinetic energy is when it's moving, when the rocket is in motion, and the potential energy is before we release the rockets, or you could use rubber bands, hair ties, whatever works. Our rockets had little rubber bands that launched them. So when we're holding it and we're holding that tension, that is potential energy, because it's energy that's stored up and it's not released yet. So that's potential. So we would say, show me potential energy. They would take those rocket rubber bands and hold them back. And then we'd say, show me kinetic, and they would release their rockets across the room. And that is what we did for science. What are 2 forms of energy? Kinetic and potential. 2 forms of energy are kinetic and potential. And that was our everything for memory work. For review, we did molding clay. Each of the kids got their own pack of clay or Play-Doh. It was a molding Play-Doh, and so they all had their chance to, during the whole review period, to build their own sculpture, as we reviewed as many weeks of review as possible during that time. We made it through a lot of review with that, and the kids had fun making their sculptures. And that is what we did for week 15. I hope it's helpful. Let me know if you have any questions. Otherwise, looking forward to seeing you next week. Bye.